The normally placid Anakena Beach, situated on the northern coast of the remote South Pacific island of Rapa Nui, is far from a lulling place this morning. Charred, torn bits and pieces of bionic mecha and warships are scattered everywhere, gruesomely littering the shore's sparkling white sands. They signify, without a doubt, that a struggle for power occurred, and not so long ago either. Floating above this wreckage, casting a crescent-shaped shadow of technology over the natural Polynesian wonder below, is the overwhelming vision of a gigantic and unearthly ship. Unscathed, a famous Ahu platform of Moai sentinels stands in front of the craft, welcoming this new visitor from afar. Farther inland, past a felled patch of rare coconut palms and an endless stretch of tall grass, the catalysts of the shoreline chaos are unmistakable. 30 stark figures, the smaller, 8-foot variety of alien mecha that scourged the moon and now Sydney, are perched atop the southern rim of the ancient quarry of Rano Raraku. The site is a haunting, inclined graveyard of incomplete, eroded, and half-buried Moai statues, each of which gauging an average height of 13 feet or more. Amidst the comparatively shorter ball mecha is one of the larger types sporting steely, segmented, snake-like arms. At the front of the XT ranks and adorned with intersecting purple symbols over its bulging red eye, this machine is clearly the group's commander. However, of all the historic statues to choose from in the vast, almost mystical caldera quarry, the aliens have set their sights on one particular Moai on the outer slope just ahead. Alone, it rests there on the rocky prairie, eerily unique in design before the field of clones peeking out of the earth. Rather than a gaunt, angular, and long-eared stone head wearing a stoic visage and set on a nondescript, pillar-like body, this Moai, known to native islanders as Tukoturi, is a far less abstract, round-edged sculpture approximating the appearance of a kneeling man. To any human, the skillfully carved, brown, hardened, volcanic ash effigy would be regarded as an astonishing and revered oddity. To the gathered aliens there is no such awe, only the recognition of a goal. They begin a premeditated, rapid movement toward it. Soaring over the alternating grass and dark rock terrain, they swoop down upon the monolith. The smaller mecha halt a few yards before it, looking it over with indifference, while their leader hovers forward and slowly circles the 12-foot sculpture, inspecting it with a judging eye. The short-eared, pock-marked yet shapely figure is squatting on its heels. Its shoulders are sloped, while its chest puffs out broadly, nearly touching the remains of its inward-curving goatee.
There is no denying it. This is the source of the immense energy we sensed. But how can such a simple construct of primordial rock be holding all of this power? It does not seem to resemble anything the scribes wrote of,
muses the alien commander, examining the statue's blank eye sockets containing small traces of what were white-painted pupils.
My senses are among the finest of our caste. I cannot imagine being mistaken in a matter such as this. Perhaps the true Techian key is within this statue, and what I see is merely the casing given by the human vassals who helped the Grand One make his transcendence. Yes, this must be the truth, for this sacred stance is of our tradition,
notes the being from another world, gazing intently at the kneeling Moai's hands, which are formally placed downward in its slanted lap.
Regardless, Zezeran wants proof for the Madlosha. The time has come to put his absurd doubts to rest. As it is written by the scribes, the aura of the mind will resurrect the keys to the land beyond sight.
The pilot of this purple-scarred mecha is Kuyo, a delegate of the alien council dubbed the Domain, who strongly opposed coming into direct contact with the Earth from the beginning. However, his views were outweighed by those of the council who preferred to discover whether this was, in fact, the planet they had been searching for. Such verification, they expressed, would ward off the consequences of possibly misleading the Matlosha. Kuyo remains troubled by the Domain's decision, knowing well ahead of time from signs that this had to be the planet documented in their lore. In his mind, to finally come face to face with one of the legendary Techian keys is too great an honor for someone of his caste, and he has silent fears of tainting such a holy relic. In spite of this, he had come to the conclusion that if anyone should attempt something so foolish, it should be one who has an enormous reverence for the keys. Thus he volunteered for the undertaking. Kuyo's mecha's arms are outstretched as if they are about to receive a gift, and the metallic black skin of his machine starts to glow a brilliant yellow. The radiance that originated from the red cockpit shield begins to expand, quickly covering the alien infantryman and the kneeling Moai in front of it in a dome of crackling psionic power. Wrapped in this shroud of energy, the kneeling Moai's eyes, which have always appeared to stare into the distance at something far beyond the horizon, shine an ethereal white gold. Instantly, the entire 14-mile-long island of Rapa Nui starts to shudder.
The energy I feel within this construct is consuming me. I must risk closer contact, or I shall surely be overtaken by its glorious might.
The crimson cockpit shield evaporates at Kuyo's command, and, after a monumental effort, he drops to the foot of the convulsing statue. Spreading his tentacles outward from his black cloak, he mirrors the unique Moai's meditative posture. The alien's eyes meet with the stone figure's, Kuyo using all of his mind's strength to break the artifact's locked gaze of rapture. The dome of light covering the two begins to collapse, caving in on itself, all of Kuyo's energy being soaked up by the unusual ancient statue's shining stare. Shimmering, scar-like symbols matching those on Kuyo's robe and mecha emanate from Tukaturi's volcanic skin now. The crater quarry is at once basked in an overflowing light, and the many smaller XT mecha can only watch and marvel at the sudden, unexpected power being generated by the stone figure. This harsh luminosity casts a demonic shadow across the kneeling Moai's face, and it vibrates with greater anger, throwing Kuyo back into his machine's womb. While the cockpit's crimson bubble materializes and hardens, offering refuge to the XT group leader, the Tukaturi monolith explodes into a gigantic pillar of light. The abrupt blast hurls the domain member's mecha backward, both of its serpentine arms seared off from touching the expanding beam. Suddenly, all of the tall, rigid, coastal adjoining Moai begin to glow. Then, inconceivably, they open their mouths to make a monotonous, almost mournful song consisting of one note. The Pacific waters caressing the island with gentle white foam crash against the shore more vociferously now as the entire island feels the force of the celestial pillar's influence. Every incomplete or untransported Moai, both inland and quarry-based, bursts into jagged shards. The alien ranks gathered by Kuyo are forced to float away in retreat as Rano Raraku's rim and sides fissure and crumble. The sky darkens to a malevolent ink color, and lightning thrusts forth from it, meeting ground pulses halfway in unharnessed surges with no rhyme or reason, like those seen in the most incredible of hurricanes. Within seconds, the effects of the murky skies spread over the entire triangular island. Rapa Nui's nomadic wild horses utter frightened neighs and scatter to all corners of the isle, but there is no hospice to be found from the swelling darkness. On the opposite end of the island, at the coastal cliffs of Arongo, the curious petroglyphs of birdmen on the shoreline rocks start to ooze and fill up with quasi-liquid yellow energy. Before long, the carvings come to life, energy birdmen forming from the pools of psionic matter and multiplying rapidly. The creatures of light soon take to the shadowy sky, commanding it in imposing numbers. The nearby populace of Hangaroa, who earlier failed to take shelter by government order, are shocked to see the mysterious beings depicted in their shore for so many generations to be real. But the awed humans, both locals and tourists, seem to be of little interest to the bird-resembling creatures traversing over the island. They are fixated on the central pillar of extreme light on the horizon. Just arriving on the scene, World Union fighter jets called in by the deceased mecha pilots on Anakena Beach are dumbstruck by the abruptly unwieldy skies, even more so by the multitude of fantasy beings surrounding their craft. Some open fire in alarm, but the bolts and missiles only split the birdmen bogies into heartier numbers. The flowing flocks are beyond overwhelming, and the bewildered World Union pilots are disintegrated in the successive moments. The birdmen of splendid light perform aerial twists and turns of pure grace and magnificent agility as they near their enchanting target. The aliens dominating the terrain just previously seem insignificant. They are trapped in a cage of more than 280 pillars formed by the singing Moai, and a skyline of heavenly birdmen is closing in on them. The birdmen swarm the wide central pillar created by the kneeling Moai, circling it like vultures. They leave behind trails of golden and resplendent energy with each pass, weaving intricate, ring-like patterns around it. However, the supernatural entities begin to revolve around the pillar with greater fervor, and the corkscrew design generated starts to resemble a raging tornado of pulsing flame. Even Kuyo has grown to fear the spectacle constructing about him. The domain member wonders how much longer before the mindstorm surges over and engulfs the island with a destructive eruption far worse than any mechanical force could ever hope to exert.
My presence. I tested the Grand One's patience, and now I shall face my eternal punishment. Let my damnation be your proof, Cesaron.